Aurelia pick. I thought it was going to be enough against that Renekton, but just not quite enough. They are sitting on that Ezreal pick, so there are a number of strong champions still open. Maybe they don't want to first pick one of them. They want to leave them open for those second and third picks on their side. They grab Ezreal. It's a safe pick. Now TPA, they have to kind of make some decisions.
I'm really surprised it didn't go with that Aurelia. It's usually a safe pick in lane. One of the only champions that does really kind of counteract her is that Renekton pick that M5 used against it. TPA, though, Rengar is available, so they are going to snatch that one up. Stanley wants to get his grasp on that. Now we're going to have to see, do they take their own ED? Do they try to snipe away support? Do they take Lulu away from CLG EU and use it to their own benefit? Are they going to pick up a jungler? They are hovering over Olaf or Skarner right now. I mean, Lil Balls playing Skarner is almost as scary, if not scarier, than Snoopy playing Skarner, which he did very effectively in game number 1.
Well, it gives them still that quick clearing advantage. It gives them strong team fight presence in those side lanes for counter initiation. But what it also gives is that quick single target pickoff. So Rengar jumps in on someone, he gets the snare. Skarner, he pulls someone back. That's going to be really dangerous for them to deal with. So they're going to need a safe team that they can kind of kite backwards and try and keep vision of both Rengar and Skarner in order to win this. Maybe a blitz pick. It was banned out the last game, mostly to leave open the Diana or the Orianna and Anivia, but we'll see if he's happy with taking it, or the Zyra since it hasn't been banned.
Now, Zyra could go potentially well with that Ezreal. They're also hovering over a Mumu, so they're going to have the potential to get the Curse of the Sad Mummy, the Zyra Roots, as well as the Stranglethorns, the Zyra Ultimate to knock everybody up afterwards. This is going to look like a pretty strong setup from CLGU. They're hovering over Aurelia, though, and the crowd is equally as loud for Aurelia as they were for Anivia. Bouncing back and forth, though, CLGU just kind of teasing us a little bit.
Yeah, Aurelia does do pretty well against Rengar. The heal, once she hits level 6, it helps counter out the fact that Rengar's going to have that sustain in lanes. So that's really dangerous, but we'll see where they go with this. They have something of an AoE team now. Katarina is open if CLGU decides to go something like that.
Yes.
Or we could see something really aggressive from CLGU, like a Jarvan mid or something like that. That could take advantage of TPA early on, but we'll see where they're going. Bebe potentially going MF, and that's a really aggressive AD. However, if CLGU goes a team that's very strong at diving the enemy carry, it could make things difficult for her.
Well, they're also hovering over Vayne, same exact idea. Even though she gets super strong in the late game, if you dive her early enough in these mid-game team fights when she's not yet got the farm that she needs to survive, it's going to be in a little bit of a bad place. Also going with that Lulu pickup. Lulu, of course, offers a little bit of crowd control with the Glitter Lance and the Whimsy to polymorph somebody into a cute little adorable animal. However, they're also not the tankiest of lanes. She will give Vayne a little more survivability with the Wild Growth at level 6, but still, it's an interesting pickup, especially when they already had the aggressive Blitzcrank, who's going to pull someone to Ezreal who could shift after.
I really feel a Karthus right here. I'm not. I mean, where are the Karthus? Where are the champions that Froggen's going to expect to win that mid lane? They have TPA with a really short range team. Vayne in particular, if they get the Karthus, go with that exhaust, couple it with the Amumu, it could really help them out. And then he can just free farm in that mid lane and then set up those later fights. But we'll see. There are a number of options.
I'm thinking right now CLGU might go with the Aurelia, and if they pick up the Aurelia, they're going to go with Lee Sin in the mid lane. This is the composition that they used at MLG Dallas. This is the composition we've seen them use on online tournaments as well. Rumble actually being hovered over right now, so I don't think they're going to go with that mid Lee Sin. Vladimir being picked up. This is a huge AoE composition.
Yeah, Vladimir, he doesn't have the ultimate that Karthus does, but he has a much stronger early game. In that mid lane, it's very difficult to force out Vladimir, and then he's just going to have so much harass once it comes into fights. Bebe, he's going to want to get a lot of damage early on. He's not going to get enough MR early on. And if Froggen, if he itemizes into quick magic pen, he can actually like 1 or 2 shot Bebe. So you throw down the ultimate, 1 transfusion is almost enough to take him down. And that's going to be really dangerous for Vayne in those situations, just the quick burst that CLGU have. And so they're going to want to force fights early and often once they get their ultimates to try and take advantage of that.
So who is the last pick for Type A Assassins? Going to be no mid laner yet chosen. We did mention a couple of champions still on the table. Karthus is still available. Katarina is still there. But they have a lockdown composition with that Rengar and the Skarner. Isolating somebody for Katarina to safely get a reset on that could be a potential pickup. There's that Karthus. You keep saying CLGU's going to take it, and Type A Assassins keep taking your advice instead.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised there. But, Karthus is definitely one of Toys' stronger AP mids. Since they're banning each other out so heavily, he decides to just go with it.
So
I thought they might run a team with the TF. Not going to happen.
TF also would have been a really great pickup. They have the Skarner ultimate. They have Rengar who could jump on someone from the bushes. If you give them that vision through Rengar ultimate and Twisted Fate ultimate to keep on them.
It's scary against the Rumble, Vladimir, and Amumu, though. Like, you just can't run TF against that team.
You have the Karthus where if he does get caught in all this engagement from CLG EU, all you have to do is walk into them. And then you're going to wind up dealing as much damage as you possibly could anyway. So picking up that Karthus, not surprised to see it. Is running teleport again, so we're going to have to see if Toys is still going to use that to run around the map, potentially getting ganks down. He could also just sit in the mid lane, farm up to his heart's content, hit the R button and use it just to maybe for earlier on engagements. We could maybe even see something going on at level 1.
Well, and one of the best things about the Karthus is how it's going to protect Bebe, because that's a serious concern. If CLG EU, if they're able to get some of their AoE on Bebe, he's going to drop almost instantly, but the Karthus wall will help some. And then also the fact that they have to deal with these 2 hyper carries. I mean, they're just going to be so strong as the game progresses. It's going to take a little bit of pressure on them. Then you consider if TPA can force fights with the Rengar initiation, with the Skarner initiation as well, it's going to allow Bebe to be safe in that back line and prevent CLGU from, counter pushing.
Like you were saying, they have 2 hyper carries. So CLG, they have Vladimir's Hemoplague, they have Amumu's Curse to the side mummy, they have the Equalizer. And Blitzcrank, of course, is going to mean that they're going to try to force engagement. They have to do it kind of early on. They have to be wary of that Skarner pickup, though, because he can turn around those fights, even if Vayne and Karthus are not going to be as strong as they really need to be. But, I mean, CLG, we're going to have to see it. They play it like they did in game number 1. I think they could really take this one. But if they let the game go on and drag on like in game number 2, Taipei Assassins are really looking strong.
Well, they still have a great pickoff potential in this game. Karthus is going to be at a serious, there's going to be a serious issue when you consider Blitzcrank potentially pulling them back. Vladimir, they all have this burst damage. Amumu coming in the mid lane, they could maybe pick up a quick kill there early on. So, Lil Balls, he's really going to need to keep an eye out for Toys, not allow that pressure from Snoopé to, try and snowball that lane against Toys. But we'll see what they can do with it. It's going to allow them to split their lanes. Karthus puts pressure around the map. Skarner as well. He has that map control, and they can see what they can do with it.
All right, everybody out there in the crowd and sitting at home, you've let us hear your voices on the polls at ipl.ipgn.com/IPL. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want to hear you guys out. This is the last match of the night. Winner moves on to the losers bracket. Finals, I believe. Losers bracket, semifinals, I don't even know. But the loser is going to wind up going home. So, guys, if you want TPA to take game number 3, let me hear you guys.
Well, they came back in game number 2 to take it from CLG at the very end of the game. But if you want CLG to win, I know they were the fan favorites at the beginning of this. If you want CLG to win and continue through the losers bracket, let me hear you scream.
You see, and I thought I had a good cheer.
No, it's solid. They looking for the CLG. We'll see what can happen. Crepo just sitting by that mid lane, and they're actually positioning themselves over by the blue. So CLG potentially going to go for a steal. The level 1 for TPA is really weak. So they can get some damage from Toys, but assuming they can cut around that Toys damage, they have the quick burst from the Blitzcrank if they can hit a hook. And neither team really has that strong of a level 1, but the Ezreal and Blitzcrank kind of win it for CLG a little bit, though they do back off after dropping that ward.
TPA is going to have to be careful. Something that CLGU has loved to do when they pick up that Blitzcrank for Crepo is to go for delayed invade on that buff they're contesting, pull it over the wall, and just deny it from the enemy. We're going to have to see, are they going to do this, give Ezreal those double golems, and then have Blitzcrank move with Vladimir and Amumu to try to contest the buff from TPA. Although TPA might have recognized this already. Karthus is from mid lane there, so they have 4 members ready to try to fight this one out.
Low balls, he's going to be able to control his blue. There's no pressure on it. And Snoopé going for that red. So we've seen it from a number of junglers so far. It is invisible, but he's going to be able to grab that regardless and just continue on his route. Both of the junglers are going to make their way into that top lane. And that's going to be right around when Rumble's hitting level 3. Going to be able to put on some pressure and then see what they can do.
We got Karthus bot lane, and we have Vayne Lulu mid lane against Froggen's Vladimir. I can't check it myself, but I don't think Vladimir's running any armor at all.
No, he's actually, if I check, he's at 30, so I think he has a little bit. But this is something that we've seen from some of those teams in that arena area. We haven't really seen it from TPA in this tournament, but it's going to put a lot of pressure on that Karthus in the mid lane. And we'll see how that on the Vladimir in the mid lane. While Karthus, he's just going to farm with his Qs. It's not going to be that big of a deal for him.
We'll have to see how Froggen responds to this and the rest of CLGU. He was content on Nibia last game for 1v2ing for a while, so we'll have to see if he does it this game. And top lane, Snoopé going to make his presence known, is waiting using that tri-brush. Little Balls with his own double buff, they could potentially run into one another here. Little Balls goes in, finds Snoop, has to activate the exoskeleton. Snoop with the Despair going down. Crystalline Slash is getting a little bit of the better of Amumu in that trade, and Little Ball is going to force Snoop out of that top lane.
And neither Rengar nor Rumble very strong at this point in the game, so they're just kind of sitting back, trying to get some levels against each other, and we'll see how that progresses.
Snoop right now is staring at Little Balls. That's what he's doing.
Well, he's a little bit lower than Little Balls, so he's going to have to watch out because Rengar could jump in, get some quick bursts, and if they give up a double buff early on, it would be pretty devastating. But neither of them really have the best ganking opportunities up in this top lane, so they're just kind of hanging out for a second, making sure that neither of the other tries to put on any pressure.
So both junglers are going to return their respective sides in the map. This mid lane, though, Froggy not having the best of times against this BB and Mistake duo lane in the middle. He is getting that Transfuse level 2. He can't quite clear out these minions against the tower as quickly as he wants to. The cooldown on that is not high enough, however, or low enough, technically. However, he is going to be able to sustain himself off that. BB first tumble forward to take a shot at Frog and take a tower shot in response. So as long as Frog can stay safe under this tower, he should be okay. And unlike in that 2v1 top lane, the mid lane is a lot harder to gank from behind tower if you're an enemy jungler.
Wicked is coming mid, though, so he's coming right in behind Bebe and Mistake, which is a little surprising. Snoop is coming up as well. He's going to try and get the bandage toss if Wicked can land the harpoon to slow them down. Mistake is being chased down and is dropping very quickly. He will go down. The first blood for Snoop.
Winds up going to Amumu, so really good job there. Coordination from CLG EU. They land the harpoons. They force Mistake downwards, so he can't even flash over that wall to get out of there. Good pickup. It's going to relieve a little pressure on Frog in the mid lane, and of course give CLG that first blade gold advantage.
And they weren't expecting it at all because you never see Rumble leaving that top lane that early. He's just so weak in the early couple of levels. He doesn't have that much damage. But without Rumble, I don't know if they would have had enough damage to take down, or I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have had enough damage to take down Mistake in that situation, even with the Snoop gank. So it paid off for them, catching them by surprise.
They wouldn't have had the lockdown. Those double electro harpoons landing on Mistake. Mistake, of course, going all consumables for the third time in a row. So he has no movement speed. He has nothing on him. He has Whimsy. That was his only way out of that one. Unfortunately, wasn't enough. Got hit by double electro harpoons. And, well, we know the rest. CLG EU, first blood, and they're looking okay so far.
Well, and they know that it's an easy target because they're being aggressive.
Krepo missing the flash hook down there onto Toys. That might have gotten him a kill there. Ezreal was just waiting over the wall. Could have arcane shifted in, at least burned a summoner spell there.
And now Wicked, he's still a little bit behind Stanley here, but that kill is definitely going to help him out. And Rumble's definitely a champion that can snowball pretty quickly. We're seeing some ward coverage now by that mid lane, and that was something that was really lacking considering how aggressive TPA was being in that mid lane on Froggen. But now with those wards, they should be safe to continue up that pressure and try and take that early turret.
Now Froggen hits his tower, has level 2 of Transfusion, going to be getting it level 3 when he hits 5. He has some Tides of Blood still, so he can just shoot those out to try to farm up better against this tower. Sustaining himself okay. Snoop kind of camping him just a little bit, forcing BB and Mistake to back off, so Vayne's not going to be able to get those pot shots on their tower and then tumble away. There is still the health picks going down on Froggen, but it's not really doing a lot of damage.
They're going to try and force this, but Lil Balls, he's actually watching, and he's going to walk in. Snoop does see him, so they back off for a second. But Krepo, he might actually go for a pull over this wall. The ward being dropped by Lil Balls, and he's getting that movement speed boost, trying to see if he can grab anyone. There's no one in range, so he will just back off.
A little bit surprised they didn't want to grab on the Little Balls as soon as they saw him in that brush. They just kind of turned around and waited for something to happen. Maybe they didn't want to get into a bit of an unfavorable engagement. Vladimir was still pushed kind of close to his tower, might not have gotten into that fight in enough time. So a little bit of smart decision making by both sides. They don't decide to go for the early aggression, but they're just relieving pressure on that lane, forcing one of the other persons to just back off a little bit and giving a slight advantage in just positioning as well as minion waves in that mid lane.
Well, and Krepo, he's been putting some pressure on Karthus, but, not been able to pick up any kills. So he decides to leave the lane, put some pressure on that mid lane, make sure Froggen's in a good situation. They are out farming TPA right now. So with that kill, they have a 500 gold lead. But the top lane, even with the assist, he's actually a little bit behind Rengar. So Stanley, able to effectively farm up there.
One thing going down is actually an equalizer goes down from Wicked and top. I'm just going to farm that up. That kind of signifies he wants the recall and wind up buying some items. So we had to see it. That is what he does. Still only has his boots and no health potions to his name, so he's chugged through all those. Frog into the mid lane you mentioned is out farming Karthus in bottom lane, but Vayne is out farming Ezreal. 59 compared to the 46, now going into 48 that Yellow Pete has down there. Even though Karthus doesn't have the CS for himself, that lane is shoving into the tower, and just because of the fact that those minions are fighting each other with a giant wave for CLG EU, Yellow Pete might be denying himself some CS.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see how he keeps up with Bebe. Bebe is out farming him right now. Yellow Pete really wants to get deep into his build, and they want to be able to just all hit some really strong items in the big game and be able to force fights with their really nasty AoE comp. Really, it just comes down to CLG EU. They can kind of just wait for one big team fight where they can just, potentially ace TPA, just catch everyone out of position, get everyone down, get a Baron or something off of it, and then win the game. So until then, they're all kind of sitting back, just making sure they're farming up and ready for that situation.
CLGU, Yellow Pete now hit level 6, looking at levels across the board. Ultimates have been acquired on everybody except for Snoop and on Crepo, so no Amumu Curse in the side mummy just yet. When they do get that, I expect them to maybe put some more pressure on that Karthus bottom lane. Now actually rotating towards mid lane, so realizing that Karthus wasn't getting the farm that he wanted to, and that Vayne not having as much of a CS lead over Ezreal anymore. She's going to go back and buy a BF sword though, so she has a decent amount of damage to come back in the lane to try to fight against Yellow Pete, maybe force him out and deny a little CS. Gold count's relatively even on that side. We do have the True Shot barrage going out across the lane, so Yellow Pete probably going to go back and buy now that he knows that mid lane is coming bot.
And it's farm, but also levels, because Karthus is 2 levels behind Froggen. He was 2 levels behind Yellow Pete as well. He really needs to get level 6, and then level 11 in particular, because his level 6 ult, it doesn't do that much damage, particularly when he's going Catalyst first on little farm, which means he's not going to be getting AP very early in the game. So it's opening up an opportunity for CLG in the mid game where they're going to all have really nice items, and TPA is not going to be able to respond.
Almost double the CS now as Froggen continues to pressure down on this mid lane. Now roaming towards the bottom. This is what I thought they were going to do. We have Yellow Pete actually helping Snoopy go for this red buff. Vladimir and Blitzcrank putting a little bit of pressure down there, but Skarner's actually come all the way around to the bottom lane as well. Might have been looking for a lane game, but there's no one in the lane to gank. So CLG, a little bit of mind games there. Yellow Pete and Crepo going to run into Lulu in the river there. Is Blitzcrank going to be able to get a hook? Snoopy is here as well. Arcane shift forward, but no, the flash have been burned from Mistake to secure him, but that is one summoner spell down.
Yeah, but Yellow Pete, he grabbed that red buff a little bit ago. Snoopy gave it to him, so they're forcing that Baron or Dragon. They know they have enough damage. Stanley is up in the top, and Karthus is really weak right now, so he's not going to add much. So CLG EU, they know it's free gold essentially for them. They want to make sure they take it. Vayne trying to push a little bit on the bot, but he's going to have to back off because now they're coming down to her Bebe in a dangerous spot, but they don't go for it. So he just backs off a little bit too soon, but they do grab that Dragon.
Meanwhile, Rengar was pressuring on that top tower, wasn't able to take it down as quickly as he had hoped to, so Wicked's going to come up here, be able to defend that. Stanley's just waiting in the brush, so might want to get a jump on Wicked. Don't exactly know if he can win that deal yet. Does have the Spirit Massage, so he can reduce a little bit of the damage that Rumble's putting out, considering he only has the magic penetration on his sorcery shoes. Quick little trade there. Rengar does come out ahead, being able to heal himself up from that one, but pretty much standard lanes going back to one another. Another mistook there from Crepo, trying to get onto Vayne, but BB's just not having any of it.
And now Low Ball is coming down bot, but there is a ward there. He hasn't gotten an Oracles yet, so he's not able to clear out this great ward coverage from CLG EU, and really it just goes down to being really passive in this game and farming. So the ward coverage, it protects them from that Skarner, from those quick kills, and from the Rengar as well, who might start roaming out of that mid lane, but Stanley going with that Spirit Visage build again, it's going to allow him to have a lot of strength in that lane. He can harass down Rumble some, but then just heal right back up.
On top of the harass that he's been putting down on Rumble, considering how Wicked's been roaming around a lot, we saw him, of course, go down to that mid lane to get first blood. He came down to help secure that Dragon from CLG EU. He's down by about 25, 26 CS, so Rengar's got a little bit of a jump on him. He gets that tower down as well. That's going to be a significant gold advantage that Stanley's going to have over Wicked at this point in the game. CLG EU, they might want to respond to this one, or they might just be content letting that lane push. They're actually going to get the lane swap going in as Yellow Pete and Crepo come here to try to contest that, sending Rumble back down into the bottom lane.
Mumu's sitting mid. He might go for a steal, or he might try and force something on Toys. Skarner, he does have that Oracles now, so he's able to clear out some of those wards back off to his base. But one of the issues with this Rengar and why it's so strong, he's able to just slowly win that lane with harass and then heal back up. But Stanley's in a dangerous spot. But here's the strength. He can just ult, get out there easily, even if they dive him, and he backs off, dodging the hook and dodging the bandage toss beautifully.
Just crossing paths there, the hook and the bandage toss, and Stanley, all he did was juke backwards very quickly, but a very nice maneuver there, getting himself out of a very sticky situation. On top of this, he's just going to sit back, he's going to farm up his double golems from his own jungle, still content with his 94 CS compared to his lane opponent at 66.
And that was without any wards, so he just saw the Blitzcrank coming up lane, knew he had to get out of there. Snoopy coming in the mid, though, he can get a bandage toss. There's the Vladimir ultimate. He flashes and curses the sad money to take him down 2-0 for CLG EU.
Vladimir getting the kill as well as he goes forward. Karthus ultimate going down. I don't know if he's going to be able to take out anybody in the mid lane. Froggen pulls just in case. Little Ball's getting the impaled down on the Wicked. He's back in tower range. Flash forward. The Glitterance land, so he's getting kind of slow. Froggen going to body block just a little bit, and unfortunately, Lulu and Skarner don't have enough damage to take down members of CLGE.
And now you see Yellow Pete and Crepo laning against Stanley, but he's actually winning that battle. He was able to wear down Yellow Pete a little bit and then just back off easily. He has to worry about that hook, but even if it comes, he can just ult and then maybe even burst down Yellow Pete. So Yellow Pete has to watch out. With the Ignite, he has a lot of burst damage at this point in the game, and that's going to make it a really difficult lane for CLG EU to deal with. Stanley's going to be able to just split the entire game.
We will have to see what is going to happen. Yellow Pete going back to base has acquired himself a Fade, now buying the Vampiric Scepter on top of those Berserker's Greaves. Across the board, Froggen has got his Hextech Revolver, pretty standard item for Vladimir here, not doing anything crazy like we will on the Nivea. Halting guys acquired for Rumble. Flip side though, there's still that BS Sword on Vayne, hasn't really gone back and gotten any other major items yet, not even going for her boots level 2. Carvethus in the mid lane though, acquiring his own blue buff, has a Chalice of Harmony, has a Catalyst. He's going to be sitting pretty until he wants to upgrade one of those into an Athene's, potentially going for the Rod of Ages as well.
Yeah, but not only getting the Catalyst, but the Chalice. I mean, that's going to be nice for his lane if the game slows down, but it's going to be really weak in the upcoming fights. He just doesn't have a lot of damage right now. I mean, Carthus naturally has a lot of base, but his ultimate in particular isn't going to be that effective against CLG EU. So if CLG EU forces fights, not only do they have a 2k gold advantage, but Carthus isn't itemized for the damage in those early fights.
CLG EU, I think they're going to want to initiate the fight, but maybe around the next time Dragon spawns, which should be, still a little bit ways away. But when that Dragon does spawn, they could potentially contest this. They have, of course, a low damage Carthus, a Vayne whose only item is a BS source, which is really squishy. One thing you gotta be careful of is Rengar, with all his farm in top lane, has gotten the Spirit Visage Ninja Tabby to reduce damage incoming, and double Ruby Crystal. He's going for that extremely tanky Rengar build we've seen very popular at the tournament this weekend.
There's the pink ward from Crepo, able to take out that ward there. Snoopy actually making his way back towards the mid. He sees the little balls there, maybe considers going in, but just backs off, and so we'll continue with that jungle control game. Both junglers able to hold on to the oracles, but the first one to lose it, that could be a serious swing in this game.
More wards being placed down by Crepo. Is he continuing to protect Vladimir in this mid lane, potentially just wanting to keep that large advantage he has over Carthus? Did mention that Carthus is going to be content just sitting back, farming up his own raids, farming up the enemy raids if they so push that far, but Froggen is still also content with just sitting in this mid lane and farming up, now going back and picking up his own pieces for an Abyssal Scepter.
Stanley's going to get a turret though, and Yellow Pete backs off just in time because Stanley has red buff, and if he chases down Yellow Pete, that could be really dangerous for him. But CLG EU, they're pushing down the mid lane. Toys, he can't defend this even with his wall, even with his damage, because there's just the fact that he could go down so quickly. Skarner trying to come in around the side though, might try and force this.
We have Lulu coming in as well on mistake. They are going to back off from this tower, so it does live for now, but if CLG EU is able to take down the tower in response, if he's able to take down the tower in response, then they're going to give up a lot of control around the Dragon area. Stanley, as you mentioned, is going to be trying to come around here. Is he going to be going into the mid lane? Is he going to try to get the jump on Yellow Pete? We'll have to see. Mid lane, a little bit of engagement going on as Froggen and Crepo try to back off Lulu, Carthus, and Skarner, who are also hanging around this mid lane. They want to get that tower down. There's the power fist connecting on Mistake, knocking him up in the air. Mistake goes down instantly. Curse of the Sun Bombing was used in that engagement. I don't know if they had to, but it did prevent him from trying to flash away over that wall.
Well, it's been such a low kill game so far. Both teams are sitting back, and it's that kill, it allowed them to go by. It allows them to push objectives. It allows them to take this dragon, and so you do whatever you can to secure it. They got it, the Curse of the Sad Mummy, before Lulu could flash, and it was just enough to kill her, even through that Lulu ultimate. So they pick up the kill, they pick up the dragon, it adds to their gold lead. So when there's not a lot of kills to be had, when the enemy team is playing passively and not forcing fights, it works out. But Stanley facing off with Frog, and he actually pops the ultimate. Stanley is going to be taking some damage, but it's just not quite enough. He will be getting the slow, actually gets the heal as well. There's the Carthus ultimate, almost going down, but just not quite enough damage. The Ignite just barely can't hit.
Not going to get him. They saw the pool was used, and they thought that they could pick him over the Carthus ultimate, living with, what was that, 27 HP, I believe? Froggen barely getting out of that one alive.
Well, and Toy's sitting at 31 AP, and if he had a little bit more, it'd just be enough. But Rengar is very strong at this point in the game. No one can lane against him, and there's constantly the threat that he's going to start taking turrets. The double Q is just going to drop those turrets so quickly, and now TPA, being able to force back Vladimir, they take that mid turret and start putting back some map pressure of their own.
So CLG has been able to get the dragon, but technically they've lost 2 turrets since then. Haven't been able to take down that mid tower despite how low it is going to be. So the gold counts still about 2,000 gold in favor of CLG EU, but it's not quite 2,000, so it's not the largest margin. Vayne has been comfortably farming in this bottom lane. Once again, BB has a significant farm advantage on Yellow Pete's Ezreal. And the fact of the matter is, last game it was Caitlyn, where Ezreal excels in the mid game. Caitlyn just had so much more farm, he never hit his stride and was able to outclass her in damage. Now on Vayne, Bloodthirster has been acquired before Trinity Force, or even the BF Sword has been picked up for the side of CLG EU. This tower they got in the mid lane might be able to add a little extra gold to Yellow Pete's purse in order to pick that up, but Vayne, she might start to outclass Yellow Pete just by the fact that the AD carry for TPA Assassins seems that they can farm a lot better than CLG EU.
And that's part of the reason why Yellow Pete is sitting up in the top lane, because at this point, Vayne will win that 1v1 matchup unless Yellow Pete is able to keep his distance. Stanley, he has the wards, so CLG EU trying to group, trying to see if they can pick anyone off. He's able to back off and is very safe in that top lane, but Vayne, Bebe's just being allowed to farm in this situation. That's going to be really scary later on, but if Bebe's caught in some of their ultimates and team fights, it won't be that much of an issue that they give Vayne that much farm, but we'll see what happens. Wicked, he's in a really dangerous spot. Lil Balls, he's actually coming in behind him, and Vayne, mistake, they might take him down.
And to see Wicked is just staying right against his tower. Mistake coming in if that Whimsy goes down, as well as a Hell Picks and Glitter Lance. That's going to be all they need. Lil Balls activates the Exoskeleton. Condemn against the wall. There's the Impale. Wicked, you are going down. BB's going to get the kill, and that is one on the board for TPA Assassins.
And it might result in this turret as well. Amumu and Blitzcrank coming down, but it's not going to be enough to stop them. So Bebe taking a couple of shots at this turret. They get the third tower of the game, and now all of a sudden, this game, it's only a 1K lead for CLG. But you have to think that TPA is in massive command of this game right now. They have complete map control. CLGU, they have the mid tower down, but they're just hemorrhaging gold left and right.
Yeah, they have one tower down in top lane, one tower down in bottom lane. One tower down in all three lanes. So that means that TPA
Stanley running on Yellow Pete. He's taking the blue and he's going to chase him down. Gets a lot of burst damage. Stanley actually could use the ultimate and use the ignite to maybe go for this, but just backs off at the last second.
Stanley's going to be able to keep doing this, hiding in those brushes in the enemy jungle and continuously jumping on whoever decides to come back.
Well, it's his blue now.
Lane. It is his blue. Frogman's coming over, potentially trying to take this. They have a ward on it. Let's see if he can get it. But Little Ball's coming around with the Oracle's Elixir. Wicked's in this engagement as well. Frogman actually going to steal it over the wall. Tides of Blood and Transfusion. Wicked chasing after Stanley. He got him down to almost half HP. Got to be careful of the heal though. Crepo in bottom lane. There's the equalizer going on to Stanley. Curse in the side. Mummy comes in. Down goes Scar. And now Stanley popping the ultimate. Has to try to run away.
For him though. Stanley, he went in Viz, flashed over the wall, and Snoopy's chasing him down. He's actually going to cut him off perfectly. There's the bandage toss. He has the damage if he can keep on chasing the Karthus ultimate, trying to dissuade him, but it's actually going for bottom lane. They're able to pick up that Blitzcrank, and Wicked, they actually have to back off. They can't grab Stanley, but both of the bot lane is low, and Yellow Pete, he's coming down, trying to see if he can get a kill.
Is the Hemo play going to deal with that to take down Toys? Not quite enough. The Ignite was taken away on top of that one, but Froggen had to go through the tower. Actually, did he use his flash? Did not use his flash to go through that tower, so barely not enough damage to take down Toys. All over the place, the story has been these champions getting down extremely low, but not being able to seal the deal. We did also see in the bottom Crepa going down, trying to defend against that bottom lane there. Toys actually going to teleport in this top lane now that he's healed. Wall of Pain goes down. Wicked might be in a little bit of trouble. Super actually bandaged us over a minion. Wicked's going to go down, trying to duck and dodge to those late waves. Now Snoopy looks like he's in a bad spot. Double kill being acquired by Toys. Teleport Karthus cleaning out top lane, saving the tower.
Snoopy screwing himself over there, trying to stun Toys so they can get out of there, and they're both very low. The wall and then the damage, it zones them off, and now it's a 5v3, and they have a lot of damage, so they're going to force this Baron. Karthus, he can take it very quickly, and Vayne's in a good position as well because she just finished her Bloodthirster, and all they have left is Yellow Pete, who's on the other side of the map, Blitzcrank, and Vladimir. So if they can force a nice Vladimir ult, they might be able to do it, but the Vlad ult is down because they knew they used it on Toys, so this is going to be a free Baron for TPA.
Ezreal ultimate has just come up, and he needed to fire it instantly in order to try to contest that, so that is, like you said, a free Baron for TPA, looking really strong here as they finally take the slight gold advantage in this game. 3 towers to 1, kills have all been evened up, and now they're poised to be super strong with Baron buff ticking away on their side. BB, of course, once again, 195 CS compared to Yellow Pete at 168. Even though Froggen in the mid lane, 207 compared to Toys is 176, they are winning because of their bottom lane. They are winning because of Stanley in that top lane, almost 60 CS ahead of Wicked.
Yeah, and it's still going to be difficult for TPA to push in against CLG because they're going to be able to clear waves, and there's going to be the risk that if TPA goes for turrets, then CLG is going to get the perfect ultimate combo. They're just going to be able to hit them all right as they're sieging those turrets. But on the plus side, Stanley, he can just split push the entire game, and there's no one that can lane against him. Like, at this point, he is just way too strong for CLG EU, which means he's actually going to start itemizing some damage maybe. But we'll see what CLG EU is going to do. They're actually making their way up the mid lane, maybe going to force a fight, and see if they can grab anyone.
Gotta be careful of that Baron buff, even though it's kind of early in the game, it's still a Baron buff. Vayne, on her way back, picked up a Phantom Dancer in addition to her Bloodthirster that's basically at full stacks. By the time that Yellow Pete had acquired his own Bloodthirster, there are no stacks on it. Just look at the DPS she's putting out with this Baron buff and her itemization, taking down the Dragon, no contestation whatsoever from CLG EU. If this is any indication from like it was last game, TPA is going to wind up snowballing this in their favor. They have 2 late game hyper carries that are already doing very well in this mid game area. This might be a quicker version of game number 2.
Yeah, TPA is starting to put on some pressure. Now it's a 2K gold lead. Starting off with a 2K gold lead for CLG EU, they were just slowly building it up. It was 3-0 early on, and it was just individual kills. It wasn't a very significant lead whenever CLG EU was able to take an advantage, and now TPA, they have that significant lead. Vayne is in a really good spot, finishing the Phantom Dancer as well, and she also has an Elixir, so that's going to be really dangerous for CLG EU in this situation. If they can't take down Vayne, she's going to be able to cleanse out of at least one ultimate. The question is, will they be able to get the follow-up?
With that Elixir, it makes me think that TPA wants to maybe start a fight or at least go for some lane pushes. BB is going to be starting to push down in this bottom lane. 2 members of TPA Assassins, looks like both Low Balls and Mistake going to be hiding around the areas of CLG EU's jungle. Cardus in the mid lane still going toe-to-toe with Froggen's Vladimir, and Stanley with Rengar, of course, all the way on the opposite side of the map from where his first tower was, down at CLG EU's second top tower, continuing to take the fight to Wicked underneath his own.
Yeah, and Wicked's just kind of struggling up in that top lane. Stanley's going to start putting on some pressure, and if Wicked ever leaves, trying to force a fight, it could be dangerous. Lowball's dropping some wards. Snoopy just backs off for a second. Mistake has that Oracles now, and they're looking for that map control, see what they can do. Toy's going to pick up the blue. He's going to continue to sit in the mid lane, but they can start putting a lot of pressure on the tier 2 turrets in both top and bot.
Unfortunately for CLG EU, they're trying to fall back and stall out for TPA. 2 things are going wrong in this game for that, though. 1, they don't have Froggen on Anivia, so they can't do it as effectively as they did last game. And number 2, the longer they stall, the more powerful Vayne and Karthus are going to become. They're trying to get Yellow Pete back into this game. They're not going to do it through passive farming. They have to force a really good engagement, chain together the Curse of the Sad Mummy, the Equalizer, and the Hemo Plague to really maximize the damage, yet let Yellow Pete pick up those kills after the Hemo Plague pops with the True Shot Barrage or Arcane shifting in on cleanup duty. Make sure that you're able to disable Vayne and take her out of the fight while it starts, so she can't get that ridiculous amount of DPS she has down on your targets that are going to be tanking for Yellow Pete. They need to get him back in this game by killing off champions from Type A Assassins when this Baron buff finally runs out. They can't do it through passive farm because that's just going to let TPA play into their own strategy.
The concern is if TPA doesn't even want to group up because they know that CLGU has a ridiculously strong teamfight strategy, and so they could just continue to split push this game and slowly wear in on CLGU's towers and continue to build up a farm advantage. It's now a 3K gold advantage, just from the 2K earlier. So as long as they continue to split push, CLGU doesn't have an opportunity to pick up these kills, and then TPA can make themselves strong enough where they can feel a little bit more comfortable in a fight.
One thing they do still have on their side is Cripple playing Blitzcrank. If Lulu or someone else is going out of the way to ward, or potentially even Little Balls, they can catch somebody from Type A Assassins out of position, get that kill on Yellow Pete, or give it to Froggen, and Froggen can get himself beefy enough to be in a good position. Maybe even give it to Rumble, because he's actually very underfarmed compared to Stanley. Haunting guys acquired, but not yet getting his own Abyssal Scepter in the fight. Froggen does have his own, but once they get it onto Wicked's Rumble, they're going to be in a better position for these fights. They need to pick someone out. They need to kill somebody and get into this game.
Mistake's in a dangerous spot. If Crepo sees him, he goes for the hook. He gets him over the wall. The flash out from Mistake, and actually the bandage toss from Snoopy trying to combo there, but not quite able to get him.
You're going to have to see who they are going to be backing up, but Cripple's pull is not going to be on cooldown forever. If he can get yet another one down. There's the Hemo Plague coming out from Froggen. That's the initiation there. Curse of the Sad Mummy on Toys. They get him down. That could be good, but he's flashing forward. Lulu ultimate actually went down on their mistakes very low. Froggen, though, he's in trouble. Pulls through the Karthus ultimate. Is going to get a triple kill. Annihilates Blitzcrank. Takes out a Mumu. Stanley goes into the brush. Jumps on the Yellow Pete. He's going to go down. Now Wicked running away for his life. BB gets the kill. It's going to be a double kill. It's going to be an ace. Type A Assassins wipe CLGU off the board.
And even with the start of that fight, trying to take down Karthus very quickly, Karthus diving into the middle of the team, it protected Bebe on the backside. There was no pressure on Bebe whatsoever. He was perfectly safe, and then he was able to turn that fight around. Karthus's AoE just completely shutting down CLGEU and their AoE comp. So, the AoE countering the AoE. Bebe trying to take this turret, they will be able to grab that, but all of a sudden, that's a 6K gold lead now on TPA and a really impressive fight.
That's a 6k gold lead. That's one of the more important lanes, the middle lane being taken down all the way to the inhibitor turret from CLG EU. TPA Assassins, they don't have a lot of wards on the map this game because the Oracle's Liquor Clearing has been very strong from both sides, but the wards that are down are on the enemy side of the map. They are showing the pressure. They are putting the pressure on CLG EU. They are corralling them into their own base, and when they do this, their split push is going to become super effective. By the time they get to the enemy's inhibitor turrets, they're going to be able to have to draw them out and seclude them. They don't really need anybody else to do this except for Stanley, or potentially except for BB. But if BB groups up with the team, Stanley split pushing, and someone from CLGU goes off to engage against Stanley to push him off that tower, like they were using Wicked for constantly last game, TPA right now, they're going to wipe the floor with CLG in another one of these team fights.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to see who they're going to split off against that Rengar, but like you said, the mid turret being the most important because it means one more fight from TPA is an inhibitor, and that's going to lead to that game win. CLGU, on the other hand, they need to wait for the opportune moment, and TPA, they're actually setting up for this Baron, but CLGU, they're ready for it. They recognize the situation. They can't allow TPA to just sneak this one from them.
They have to wait for that Baron. Has respawned, but the Curse of the Submummy is not up yet. CLGU has to stall for just a few more seconds before they want to engage on TPA. Looks like TPA is going to give them to that one. Curse of the Submummy has now come off cooldown, so they have the initiation they need. If they can layer it perfectly, as you mentioned, AoE team fights are CLGU's strong point, and they still have the potential to take it as long as they focus the correct targets. If BB gets hit by that Curse of the Submummy, rather than only having toys get hit by it, CLGU might have the initiation that they need. If they can trap them in a corner, if that Baron, they go for that Baron, and they're able to layer the damage down with the Hemo play, Baron could be the sixth member of the team they need to annihilate TPA in that situation. So TPA, they know about this. They're going to be smart. They're going to try baiting CLGU into a spot where they're more out in the open and the AoE is going to be less effective.
Well, that's one of the scary things is the fact that CLGU, they need to wait so they can hit their AoE because they're so tied to their ultimates for their damage. And Stanley, because he's so strong, both Stanley and Little Balls, they can run after CLGU and try and force a fight. And CLGU can't really fight it. They just have to run away. And you've seen them run away from Stanley because they know if they blow too much on Stanley and he's already very, very tanky, he's just going to pop his ultimate. He's not going to die. And then they're not going to have any damage for either Karthus or Bebe. And that's a quick way to lose a fight. So as a result, Stanley and Little Balls, they can try and force these engages. The key is not baiting a little bit too hard and then, to where Stanley and Little Balls are too separated from their team and CLGU can turn around and kill them.
CLG, if they are going to be in this Baron pit area, they need to clear out those wards. Karthus does still have teleport available, so even though he's split pushing on the bottom lane and they think they see opportunity to push or at least try to contest that Baron area, they need to make sure they clear out the wards because Toys can teleport in when they think they have a 4v5, just completely turn it around. And then if Toys goes into the forefront, while they're running away and disengaging, he's going to be the target that anything is hitting. He's in the middle of them. We saw what happened last time when Karthus died. He got himself a triple kill.
And CLGU just pushing up to the turret, it keeps vision on TPA. Once they see that TPA defends it, they can run back to the Baron, try and drop a ward. They still have the ward in the river. That's giving them a little bit of an advantage. They grab the blue as well, but as long as they're forcing TPA to sit mid, they know they'll generally be okay. Karthus and Vayne are pretty necessary for TPA to take down that Baron. So, we'll see what they do, but they're actually moving down for the Dragon. TPA can continue on their gold lead.
We have a Negatron Cloak acquired by Vayne, whereas on the opposite side, Ezreal starting to catch up a little bit in damage, has the pieces for his Triforce, minus that Sheen and the recipe cost. He's only about 50 CS behind, which is a vast improvement considering the 150 he was behind in the previous game. So Vayne, though, she is still scaling a bit better, has two BF swords, one in the Bloodthirster and one just regular BF sword. Saw the Shurelya's Reverie pop there by Little Balls, but did not want to go in. The pull from Krepa, the flash was used as well as his ultimate there. They really wanted to hook someone and thought that they had the gauge they wanted.
Just trying to get the quick kill. Stanley's coming in, though. Can he pop his ultimate? He has the movement speed bonus if he just gets the snare. Wicked in a really dangerous spot now. At TPA, they're trying to chase them down.
CLG's got to be really careful about when they use their ultimates. They use them to run away. They're not going to have them for an engagement. That's going to be a Baron bait out and potentially a fight won by TPA Assassins. They have to try to apply a little bit of pressure back on, even though their flashes are down, even though they are in a very scary position. If they catch one member of TPA out with that
the wall, the wall could be the fight.
Looks like Little Ball's going to try to go and flash forward. They grab on the Wicked. Stupe's going to come and curse this side boy, but no equalizer whatsoever. Wicked is gone. There's a Zanya's Hourglass from Toys he acquired on the back. He's going to be charging forward. Kreppel's getting low. Froggen will shut down Karthus, but here comes the Requiem. It looks like it's going to be one kill down on Blitzcrank. Ezreal on our bad side. Ezreal's gone. Double kill for Rengar. Froggen is cleaned up. That is another ace. A 5-for-1 trade for TPA Assassins. They do it again.
That's easily going to be an inhibitor, and we see the GG well played coming out from Toys, and from CLG EU as well. The GG calls. We'll see if they actually go for the surrender. It's almost enough time that they could get this Nexus. There's pretty long timers, but they actually back off after that inhibitor. They're just going to go see if they can get this Baron. They should have enough time to take it down. There's not going to be enough of CLG EU up to defend it.
No, Froggen is still down for 20 seconds. Yellow Pete down for 12. Even if he arrives and uses a True Shot Barrage, I don't think he has the damage output to really take him down at this point in time. Looks like that, like you said, TPA going to get a free Baron. Rather than charging headlong in and potentially getting caught out, considering the Equalizer is still available and True Shot Barrage is still up, they would have been walking into 2 of the Ultimate Stone. That could have been enough damage to take them down. So wisely backing off, getting this Baron. There's a True Shot Barrage for Vision. Equalizer comes in as well as Wicked's coming in here. Slupe actually trying to contest it as well. If he can go in the bandage shots, they might be able to, but no, CLG EU backs off from that. TPA takes the Baron with a large sum of money in advantage. 11,000 gold advantage for them. One mid lane completely evaporated from CLGU. Taipei Assassins, they're just looking to now win the game.
Yeah, it's 11K gold lead, and you see CLG EU, they have to just kind of run scared of that front line from TPA, and it's allowing Toys to get in the perfect positioning to just AoE everyone, and Bebe, he's constantly safe in the back line, while Rengar and Karthus, they're both diving onto Yellow Pete and taking him down very quickly in these fights. So it's been very difficult for CLG EU to get in it, but the longer this game goes, the inhibitor, it's going to allow TPA to potentially finish, but if CLG can hold off, they do have the AoE where if they catch TPA out of position when they're pushing in for a turret, they can maybe turn things around very quickly. The concern is they need a way to deal with the Rengar and Skarner as well, and that mostly comes from Yellow Pete. It's going to rely on his damage to take them down, but actually Stanley coming down for Yellow Pete, going to try and drop him here. He has the Baron, he has a lot of damage. Yellow Pete's going to go down very, very quickly. He tries to get out of there, but Stanley wins that fight, and now he can push bot while the rest of his team is top. Little Balls, he actually gets the Skarner pull. Wicked in a dangerous spot. He's going to drop very quickly to Bebe. Bebe gets caught by the Curse of the Sad Money, but it's not going to be enough. Snoopy's going to go down. Crepo being popped up by the Lulu ult, and there's the triple kill. They are going to be able to push in now. Vladimir, he's the only one left, but that's going to be another inhibitor and maybe the Nexus.
That's very true, and I don't think the way that Rengar is going to be dealt with from Ezreal is to be 1v1ing and unfortunately dying to him, but the Curse of that Sad Mummy went off, although the Impale coming off from Skarner, Wicked was unable to drop the Equalizer. TPA, they are just going to go straight for the Nexus turrets. They actually go down and take out Frog, and that is technically a quadra kill, another one for BB in this fight, and now they're going into this inhibitor. No one from CLG is up for 15 more seconds. It looks like they're marching onto their Nexus towers, and it looks like Taipei Assassins, your Season 2 winners, they're going to win against CLGU. They're moving on in the lower bracket, potentially having what it takes to be IPL5 champions and adding that under their vast achievement belt.
Well, we see they can play the long game. They can play that slow game just with CLGU. When CLGU has that effective late game strategy, and TPA is just outplaying it with the split push from Stanley, they decide not to even fight CLGU, not to play him at their own game, and then they're able to win in some of those other smaller fights.